In this video, I'm going to show you how you can self-host this entire setup on cloud, which includes n8n MinIO, a text-to-speech model, and the NCA Toolkit. And by the end of this video, you'll have your own complete AI automation stack hosted in the cloud. So for this video specifically, I'm only going to cover the self-hosting version. If you want to know how you can do locally, comment down below. So let's start by looking at a few important factors, which is the platform we're going to use for this. So even before we make the choice of our platform, let me tell you a few things. So n8n and MinIO are not extremely extensive applications, so they can run in around 2 or 3 vCPUs, which are virtual CPUs. The text-to-speech model and the NCA Toolkit requires a lot of memory and compute power, so do not go below 4 CPU cores. So that is why let's now compare all the options we have. So firstly, let's look at DigitalOcean. So I'm going to go to the website and I'm going to show you the pricing. If you were just hosting n8n, these initial tiers, for example, the $6 and the $12 tier would have been fine. But as we know, we need at least 4 CPU cores, which is this. So it costs you $48 a month. That is extremely expensive. We're not going to go there. And these are pretty much similar. For example, even if you look at Walter, you'll see that they have a vCPU 4, which is $40 a month. And then we have a similar solution in Up Cloud. And there are many Hostinger offers. For example, you see the ads and they just tell you that they have extremely cheap options, but they are not cheap considering the lock-in period. So you do get 8 CPU cores for $20, but that is when you pay the $24 term upfront, which means you'll have to pay $480 upfront to even run this thing. And you can see the disclaimer here. All plans are paid upfront. The monthly rate reflects the total plan price divided by the number of months. So all these options are no-go. So the only option we have, and which is the best option, is the Hetzner cloud. So let's look at the Hetzner cloud. You'll see how cheap it is. So when I go to the shared vCPU, so even if you look at the basic plan where you get 2 vCPUs, 4 gigabytes of RAM and this, it is only around $4.50. And you can compare how expensive this is. This is about $12 a month and you don't even get 4 gigabytes of memory. So to get the same Hetzner build, which is 4 gigabytes of memory and 2 CPUs, as you can see here, 4 and 2. So to get the same build as the basic Hetzner cloud, which is 2 and 4 gigabytes of RAM, you'll have to pay $24. So that's how expensive these things are in contrast. And because we're going to be using the NCA Toolkit, you need to get a powerful system. And for this build, we'll be using CX42, which has 8 vCPUs, virtual CPUs, and you have 16 gigabytes of RAM, 160 gigabytes of storage, and it only costs you about $18.5 if you convert this into US dollars. And this has no upfront costs. You only pay for what you use. And if you cancel it midway or even close the server, you won't be charged this rate. That's why it says max. So suppose you only use the server for 5 days and for the rest of the 25 days you have it closed. So you will only be charged for the storage rate. For example, you can see how affordable it is. So let's get started with Hetzner Cloud. So the first link that you need to go to is Coolify, and I'm going to add all the links in the description. So Coolify is a software which is going to run in the VPS, so you can manage all your builds. For example, you don't have to manually add these things just in the command line, so you can visually manage these things. That's why we will be using Coolify. And you also get a free €20 credit if you go to this link. So you'll have to click here. And when you go to Hetzner, you're going to get $20. So I have done this before as well. That's why it's telling me that the referral link is invalid, as it says the only available for new customers. So when you go there, you'll have it. So after you log in, you'll be seeing this screen. Now you just have to click new project and then give your project a name. I'm going to name it YTA SaaS just to make it easy for me to remember. So now I'm going to add project. Then the project is ready. You can just open it, click on create resource and select servers. So we'll be creating a new server here. So ideally you would select the location which is closest to you. But in this case, we cannot select it because we need this exact build. We need the CX42, which gives you 8 CPU cores. And it is only available in Germany and Finland. So if I select US East here, you'll see if I scroll down and when I select the shared CPU, there is no CX42. So if I select any server which is in the EU region, you'll see that I get the CX42 option, which is $17, which other providers give you in at least 50. So in the image, we're going to be using Ubuntu, which was already selected. So I'm just going to scroll down. Then I'll leave the networking as it is. Then I'll come to the SSH keys. So you'll have to generate the SSH key because that is how you're going to be talking to your server. Because once the server is created, like you can see here, when we create a new server, you need an initial point of contact because you need to access it and configure it. So that's why we need the SSH key. And we'll also need it later if we want to make changes to our server. So I'm going to create on add SSH key. Now to get the SSH key, which is going to link your computer to the server, I have added all the commands you need here. So you can just copy it from here and you can take the screenshot if you're not in the community. And you can see we have a lot going on here. So copy this command, which says SSH keygen 4096 -t RSA. So let's copy it and open your terminal. So I'm going to open this and I'll paste this here. So now you can see it is generating a public and a private RSA key here. And it's asking me enter the file in which you want to save the key. So I'll just enter it. So now it created a directory for us. Now for the passphrase, you can enter anything, any password. So I'm just going to give it a simple one and re-enter it. And after that, you can see your identification has been saved. Your public key has been saved. The key fingerprint is this. So now we have our key generated. To access the key, I have added the commands here as well. So if you're on Linux or Mac, copy this command. And if you're on Windows, copy this command and paste it back here. So when you paste it here, you'll see the entire key. And now I will copy this entire public key from the start to the equals to sign, the last equals to. And I'm going to come here and paste it. And then I'll name it anything I want. I'll just say YTA SSH. And then click on add SSH key. So now you have the SSH key ready and leave everything blank. The volume, firewall, backup, placement groups, you don't have to touch anything. So now you can just come here and name it YTA stack server and then click on create and buy. You won't be billed this entire amount right away. Click on create and buy now. Now the server is created and it's going to start spinning up. And when I was configuring it, I changed the server to CPX31 because it needs to be closer to me. But if you're starting out, please go with a CX42 because this is the best value for money and the location won't be a problem for you at all. It's already so fast, a few milliseconds won't make a difference. But I will be deleting this server anyway, so I chose this location. It took about 2 minutes and our server is ready. So now what you have to do is copy this public IP and come back to your terminal. And I'm going to remove everything from here. And then I will say SSH root at, and I'll paste the public IP. And this will give us access inside our server. You can copy the same command from here, as you can see. It says SSH root at public IP. Then it's going to ask me to enter the passphrase for the key. That is the password that you set when you made the key. So I'm going to enter my password. And this is going to give me the access to our server. And here you can see that I've got access. I've got a CPU load, memory, swap information, all the IP and everything. So now we are inside our server. We can go ahead and install Coolify. So now I'm going to go to the Coolify tab and then click on Get Started. Click Installation, and you'll see the code which you need to install. Then I'm going to copy it from here and go back to our terminal, and then I'll paste it here. So for some reason, it's not letting me copy this, so I'll just type it, curl -f s s l https cdn.coollabs.io/coolify/install.sh and then sudo bash. Now this command will install Coolify on our server, and we can use Coolify to install everything else. So we have a visual interface and we don't have to work in the command line the whole time. So once this is ready, it's going to give us an interface. So now we have Coolify running on our system in this server. So now you can copy this link, the IPv4 link. This is a public link right now, and later we'll attach a domain to it so you don't have to randomly enter numbers, so you can just go to your domain. So I'm going to copy this link and open it in a new tab. And there you go. So you have Coolify running on your own server. So I'll just give it a name, email, password, and everything, and I'll be back. So I've entered my name, email, and the password. So now I can click on register and make my account. Then it's just going to give me some onboarding questions, and you can read them if you want to learn more about it. And here you can see how great the platform is. There are no vendor lock-ins, and you can just monitor everything. And because there are no vendor lock-ins, so you won't have any problem if you want to change. You're going to move on, and you probably won't need to change because this is the best out there. Then you can click on next, and then it's going to ask you, do you want to deploy your resources on a local host or the remote server? So in this context, the local host is your entire server itself. So let's look at an image and understand what's going on. So currently we had this server. We made this server on Hetzner. So you can see the YTA stack server. So we made this server, and then you simply get a CLI. You get a CLI and you randomly have to type commands. And you can actually install Docker and then install n8n and YCA Toolkit, and you can install everything from this. But we won't do this because we don't want to mess around with the CLI. So what we did was we installed another software called Coolify. So Coolify now runs here. And Coolify has a visual interface like this. You'll see later, right? So you have Coolify, and now we can do everything inside Coolify and make our n8n NCA Toolkit, MinIO, everything inside of it without actually having to write code. And if you have set these softwares locally, it will be the same way, but you don't have to deal with a CLI. That's why we installed Coolify, if you're wondering why we did that. So we just have this server, which is completely abstract, and you just write words. But now we have a visual interface. And we have to select localhost because Coolify is running here, and there will be more things in localhost. So the entire setup is going to be localhost. I'm going to select localhost here and then create new project. So now the project is created. I'll click let's do it. So now you are inside your own Coolify dashboard. Before we even go ahead, let me show you what you can actually do here. So you can connect your Git repositories if you're deploying some SaaS or some project. You can add stuff from Docker file. You can have different Docker files and you can deploy. You can directly deploy a Docker image from the server. You can just add the Docker image here and it's going to deploy it for you. You can monitor the entire server from here. And then you have all these settings. So now before we even do anything, before we install n8n or anything else, firstly, I'll show you how you can connect your domain to this and access it via that domain. Now we will connect our domain to Coolify. So let me tell you all the options we have. So the first option is that you buy your domain. So this is the site, tld-list.com. This is the site where you can get the cheapest domains. So if you just don't care about the name, you just want to run it online and you need a domain name, then you can just come on the site and click on this cheapest registration. So it's going to arrange it with the cheapest name. So you can see the CFD domain is the cheapest. It is about 60 cents. So you can just add any name here. For example, I'll just say my own domain for n8n. So it's just going to tell me if it's available. And of course, this kind of ridiculous name is definitely available. I'll have to verify if I'm not a robot. And here you can see I have proven that I'm not a robot. So all the names are available. Now you can just get it for 60 cents. So you can click on this link and then you will be taken to the Spaceship website and you have to create your account, on which I already have my account. So I'll go ahead and log in. So I'll log in with my email and password and it's going to ask me for a security verification. I'm going to go ahead to my Gmail and get the code. So now I'm logged into Spaceship. What I'm going to do is actually copy this domain again and come here and go to the all products and search for domains. And then start your story with the right domain. And I'll enter this here with a CFD at the end. And now it's going to show me the price. And I'll actually go back and look at the coupon. The coupon is DOM80. And it's currently showing me that it's 77 cents. And if I add it to cart and then actually add the coupon again, let's see. So I'll continue without adding any of these because I don't need the email. And now I'll click on add promo code and add the DOM80, which I copied from that site. And you can see now it's 59 cents. So that's how easy it is. And that's the cheapest you can get anywhere on the internet without getting scammed. Now click on checkout and then you can just enter your billing details and buy it. So I already have a domain, which is my own domain, dorianai.me. So I'm going to use that. And the other way is that you use this website, which is called DuckDNS. So DuckDNS allows you to make domains just by adding this. For example, if I say n8n for Dorian, and I'll just click on add domain. And now you can see I get a success message that the domain has been created. Now I'll copy this domain name, which I just created, and head back to Coolify and enter it here. So when I add this and I'll save it, there's a save button. I save it and it says instance settings updated. And now what I'll actually do is go back to servers. And in the localhost, I might have to restart it. So I'll restart the proxy. And when I restart the proxy, it's actually going to take into effect. So now we have seen how you can use a free domain name to run the entire operation. But now if you have a domain or you plan to buy it, let me show you how you can do it. So once you have bought your domain, which I showed you earlier, you can go to library on Spaceship and then head to the domain portfolio and you'll see all your domains listed here. and then you can click on the domain and select the DNS and name servers, and then you can select add DNS records. So it's going to open this panel. So what you actually have to do is you have to add a record, and then here you add any subdomain or something you need, and then you'll add the IP which you copy from here, the IPv4 like we copied in the DNS. So you can paste that here and you can save it, and you can actually copy the domain name. Like for example, if I was supposed to make a cool admin, so then the domain name will be cooladmin.dorianai.me. So I'll go ahead and paste it, cooladmin.dorianai.me. Then I'll copy this IPv4 and come here and paste it. And then once I save it, then I'll be able to access my Coolify dashboard on cooladmin.dorianai.me. But I'm using a proxy in the middle. So I'm going to add it on that. So I'm using Cloudflare, and the steps are same regardless of what you're using. The point is that you have to configure your DNS. So no matter what platform you are, if you have a domain on some other platform, for example, if you have your domain on some other platform, for example, GoDaddy or something, you don't have to worry about it. You just have to find the configure DNS button, and then you have to configure the DNS. And it is the same steps. The first thing is you need to click on add record. Then it's going to ask you the subdomain, right? Because everything will be linked to this domain. So I'll just say cool admin, the same example I showed you. And then for the IPv4, I'll go back and copy my IP and then paste it here. And then when I add this, you will see that I have a new record here, right? So I have a cool admin. So what I have to do now is copy the name and go back to my settings and paste it here. It has to be the same, right? So it will be https://cooladmin.dorianai.me, and then this is already configured. We already did it. So now I'm going to save it. So let's look at the Coolify dashboard to understand a bit more about this. So you have your actual server, which is the local host, which is running here, the local host on which Coolify is running. So no matter what service you make, for example, if suppose NCA Toolkit, so don't make it run on port 8080. That is the default generally accepted port for localhost. But on that port, this actual Coolify is running. So this Coolify software is running on port 8080. And all the projects that you make go in this project section. So you can actually go to project and you can see that this is your first project. So it's already created for you, right? So this is just an empty thing. So this is like a folder. And inside of the folder, you can actually make your project. So I'll go ahead and click on plus, and then I'll just name it YTA stack and then save it. So now I am inside the folder, and now I can add the resource, and the resource can be anything. The resource can be added from a GitHub repository, private or public. You can add Docker files, Docker Compose files, or directly a Docker image from the Docker repository. You can add databases and everything. And you can also add n8n directly from here, you can see, right? But we're not going to do that because it comes with some settings that are pre-imposed, which will make us harder to talk to all of these things. Because our goal is not just to install n8n. If your goal is just to install n8n and get done with it, you can go ahead and just select this. And this is going to make the project for you. You can probably see. So it just automatically makes the project. It gets you the entire Docker Compose file. You can just change the webhook URL to your official domain and you can move on. And that's all you need to do. But we're not going to do that because we have to install all these things as well. So hopefully this is not created yet. You'll now have to delete it. So let's go back and see it. So in project and okay, so it created it. So I'll have to go and delete it. I'm going to go to danger zone. This is where you delete stuff. So I'm going to put delete, and then copy this, paste here, delete, permanently delete with the password. And there you go. So it's deleted now. So what we're going to do is I have made this special, complete, ultimate VPS automation stack file for you. So what this Docker Compose file does is it automatically installs n8n MinIO or MinIO. It is actually Kokoro text-to-speech and NCA Toolkit in just one file. So you just copy this and paste it there and it's going to install. Now the reason why I didn't do individual installs like we generally do in the local system and I put it all together, there are a few reasons for that. So now the reason why I did it this way is to achieve a few things. Firstly, the security. When you install stuff here locally, you don't actually have to worry about are people trying to hack into your stuff, or they'll just overuse some API and abuse it. So here you don't actually have to worry about it. So you can just do whatever. But on the web, you have to make sure everything is correct, right? And you also have to make sure that all of these services are talking to each other. So anything has to talk with the text-to-speech, NCA tool, and MinIO. And so to achieve that, you can do a few things. So the first thing you can do is what I just showed you. You can install individual pieces like n8n and MinIO. You'll probably also find the text-to-speech model, but you won't find NCA Toolkit here. You'll have to manually install it. And then you try to make them talk together. Then you create the networks, and then you add all of these 4 services to that network and make sure it doesn't break, and hopefully it works, right? So that's too long and not beginner friendly. So I messed around in literally every way, in 3 or 4 ways, and some of them even didn't work, and the others were extremely hard, so it would not be viable for beginners. So what I did was create this file. So let's read it first, and then we're just gonna copy and paste it. So when you look at n8n, you'll see that it is pretty much the same. There is not much change with n8n. It is just the image, the container name, the port, and the webhook URL. You are supposed to replace your own domain here, so you have to add your domain address. And now there's another flag or environment variable, which is n8n default binary data mode. So you have to set this to file system, and I'll tell you why. So when you're working with your n8n, and if you're working with large amount of data, for example, images, videos, some like 10,000 rows Excel sheet. So what's actually going to happen is it is going to run out of memory. Let's understand how n8n works. So when you're working with n8n, all the things that are going in the workflow are actually stored in the memory. So this is the RAM. So everything is stored in the memory, and it might actually be just a part of the RAM, so not entire RAM. So whenever it is exhausted, the space is exhausted, it just shuts itself down and throws you an error that it is out of memory. So the file system flag tells n8n that it can use the disk space, like the SSD, the storage, so you won't run out of it. So there won't be any out of memory issues. So you have the volume. This is the network, which lets it talk to all the services. And the reason why we made this is because then we don't have to let the outside world talk to it. So we have our own internal network. So we don't actually have to route any request from outside. So you have n8n, you have 2 more services. So either when you're hosting n8n here, so you send the request through the internet, and then it comes back here, or you can just talk between them. So that's what we're trying to achieve with this. So you don't actually compromise the security, and it also will be faster. Then for MinIO, we fetch the image, this exact one, because the latest one gets you the community edition. They changed it. So we're going to use this. Then we have these ports, and you can configure the root username and password. And the third software is the text-to-speech model for the CPU version, because here we don't have a GPU. So this is the image name, container name. The ports are only internal access. The web UI or even the API does not have any authentication, so people can just reach it. So that's why, to protect it from the bad actors, I actually made it internal only. And even though NCA Toolkit has an API key, but I just made it internal because we won't actually be needing it. And all the communications will be internal only. So you can configure the API key, and you can configure the S3 endpoint, the S3 access key, and S3 secret bucket key. And all of these things you will get from MinIO. So you might think, if you just compose this container, how will you change these? So that's where the fun part is. I'm going to show it to you now. So let's get started, and let's copy this entire code. And I will go to our Coolify dashboard and my first project, and I'm going to add the resource, add a new resource, and then I'll just add a Docker compose empty, and then I'll paste it here. So now let's make sure everything is correct. We got the version, the services, and okay. So the first thing here, so I already have my domain, which I showed you. So I'm going to copy, I'll actually make a subdomain. So what I'll do is, so the first subdomain I have is this. So the cooladmin.dorianai.me. This is where the Coolify is hosted, right? So what I'll do is actually make another one. Let me just add it. HTTPS, this, and then I'll say VPS n8n.dorianai.me. So this is going to be the webhook URL. And should I put it in brackets, or I don't need it? Okay, I don't need it. So we have our URL configured, the webhook URL, so we can talk to different applications. So this is going to be file system. This is done. So let's come to MinIO. I'm actually just going to leave it admin and password 123 for demonstration purposes, because I'm just going to delete all of this later anyway. Then we have the text to speech. You don't actually have to change anything here. And now you have to configure these things. But you cannot configure it because MinIO has not started yet. So before you add these things, you actually have to run the old thing. And we can change everything later. So what I'm going to do now is click on Save. And then it's going to create the entire system for us. And then we can deploy it. And we can already start adding the subdomain. So what I'll do is go to Settings and get the IPv4. So I'm going to get my IP and I'll actually make the subdomain here. So I'll say add a record and then I'll say the subdomain is VPS n8n. So now you can see this will be pointing to VPS n8n.dorianai.me. That is similar to what we have here. So now you can see all the containers are created. Now I just have to deploy it. So I clicked on deploy and it's going to start deploying, downloading everything, pulling images, and it's just going to do everything in one go. So you don't actually have to waste your time trying to figure out what's going on. So we have our subdomain ready with the IP. I'm going to paste it here. So it's going to route my n8n to this address and I'm going to save it. So you can see now I have Cool admin on which I have Coolify. I have an actual n8n, which is my local n8n. And I have the Vercel, which connects to my site. And I have this VPS n8n, which is the one I just made. And if you want, you can actually make all of these 4 services a separate name. For example, you can just say n8n and then you can say VPS MinIO and VPS NCA Toolkit. But I'll just need the n8n because I just want everything to go through n8n and I actually don't need it from outside. So let's go here and let's look at it. So you can see how fast this is. It's like literally downloading 3 gigabytes in seconds and it has already completed it. And there you go. That's how fast the server is just for $18. And also I should let you know that the minimum that you need to even run NCA Toolkit to some extent is 4 CPUs. And that is just for NCA Toolkit when you're running it in just a VPS server, only for NCA. So when you have all these things, I would at least recommend 6 or 8. So 8 is basically the minimum because just for NCA, it's 4. So everything should run on 8 CPUs and 16 gigabytes of memory. So there you go. So now we have our network created. Everything is already configured just from one script. So you just have to come here, paste this, and it's all done for you. And now let's go and see a few things. So now I'll have to go to settings and actually change the domain. So here you can see I can actually change the domain. So let me show you this. So if I go on my actual website with the VPS n8n.this, you will see that I cannot access this because there is no available server because we have made the route, but we haven't linked it. So I'll just copy this from here and paste it here and then click save. And when I save it, you will see the service is saved. It should work now, but if it doesn't, just restart it and it will work. So there you go. So it says the latest configuration has been applied. Please restart or redeploy to apply configuration. So when you click on this restart on this menu, so that will going to restart everything. I don't want that, so I'm going to go ahead inside and click on restart. And there was actually another button on the previous screen just beside. So let's try to refresh this and see. Okay, so there are no changes in effect yet as it is in waiting, and we'll have to wait for a minute. Okay, so it is completely ready. So now I can go on my link and restart it. And there you go. So now you have your own n8n instance. So now I'll just make my account with some random email. And I'll just say my name is test account. And then I'll say my password is this. And now you can click on next. And there you go. That's how easy it is. So you just you set up Coolify and enter the script. So now you have your own n8n instance ready. So let's look at a few things now. So we have our n8n ready. And I have also added the links that you need to access them. So you can just access MinIO at this link, the text-to-speech at this link, the toolkit at this link. So there is no host.docker.internal or some kind of local host. You can just directly access it on these names. That's what we have configured in this script. So now I'll go ahead and actually make a trigger, and then I would add a S3 node, which I will use to talk to the MinIO. Now to access MinIO initially on the first stage, you'll see that there is no actual domain button here or domain place. You cannot enter anything. So to initially get to MinIO, to get your client and all those keys. What you need is to get the actual address of your server. So when I come here, you see that I have this public IP. So I'm going to copy the public IP, and you can actually access all these services on the public IP, except we have blocked these two. So you cannot, but you can access MinIO because we need that to set up things initially. And I'm going to say 9,000. And you can actually see all the ports here. When you go here, you see that it is available on 9,000 and 9,001. So there you go. So we have MinIO ready. And once we configure this, we're actually going to block this URL so people cannot reach it. And we'll add a firewall in Hetzner. And I'm going to show it to you later. So for the username and password, I'll just come here and see what the username and password was. And there you go. And you can actually do a few things. So suppose once you made this file, you want to change the name. So you can just change it here. So suppose if you say admin another, and then if you save it, and then you just restart it, so everything will change without deleting your data. So you can change things here. You can just change your API keys and everything and just save it and redeploy it. Right. So it is actually admin and password 123. So I'm going to go here and admin password 123. And there you go. So I'm inside MinIO. So now the first thing I'll do is go to access keys and create the keys. So I'll head to n8n and open the S3 node and then click on create new credentials. And from here, I need the S3 endpoint, which I can just get from here. I'll copy this and paste it here. You can leave the region as it is, and then you can create access keys. You can copy the first access key from here and paste it in access key ID. Then you can copy the secret key from here and paste it in secret access key and save it. And now it is configured. So let's try a few things. I'm actually going to just add ASDF and try to run it and see if there are any errors. Okay, so there are a few errors. The connection cannot be established. This usually occurs due to an incorrect domain value. Okay, so the error is because we actually copied the keys, but we didn't create it. So they're not created yet. So let's create this. And now it's going to tell you that you should download it because you'll never be able to see the secret key again. But I'm going to delete this whole thing anyway, so I just won't save it, but you should. So now we have the secret key and it is configured here. So now I'll run it again. So let's try to figure this out. Come in credentials and go below and select force path style. And let's try it again. Okay, so now we have a few changes. So it says invalid argument, S3 API key API request must be made on port 0. Okay, so I'll actually change the port to 9,000 because I changed it to 9,001. I was trying to experiment why it's not working, but okay, so there you go. Now you are connected to MinIO, and you can actually come in your buckets and see that you have a bucket. I can just create one more bucket here, so I'll just say another one, and I'll test it. So there you go. Now I'll click on the buckets again from some other page. I'm going to go to access keys, then buckets, and there we go. So now I'll try to create a file here. I'll just say file bucket name, another one, file name, hello world, and there should be no data. Let's try to do if, okay. So it throws you an error because there needs to be some data. So let's get some data. So now I'm going to show you how you can connect to the text-to-speech model. So I'm going to copy this link and I will add a HTTP node here. Then I'll make a post request because that's what we need. I'm going to add the Kokoro TTS. So now the text-to-speech model is available in V1 audio speech. So I copied this from the initial build that we made, the R1 and R3 short and long form videos. And then for the body, I'm going to open this and select using JSON. And then I'm going to get all the three fields again. So I've got the body again. So for the input, I'll have to configure the input in a second. I'll do that. So now I will add a edit fields node here. So just I can add something for the text. This is so cool. And then I'll just copy and paste it a few more times. And let's see. Okay, that's good enough. So I'm going to run this node. And you will see that I have a script now. So for the script, I will add the script in here in the input. And I'll paste this here. And now I'll run it. And let's see if there are some issues. And if there are, we can fix them. So currently this is running on our VPS. So there you go. So it has already made our audio.
This is so cool. This is so cool. This is so cool. This is so cool. This is
Okay, so we have our audio, even though he says cool pretty weirdly. But now we have a data to process, so we can just enter data here and then it's gonna send it. Okay, so it says the specified key does not exist. Another one. So the error is because I'm actually trying to download it and there's no such file. I was supposed to upload it. So it was a silly error, and I'm gonna make a name here, which I just made, and the data field will be uploaded. And now you can see there's success. And if I go to another one, so we should have a file here. And it's loading. There you go. So we have QWERTY, right? And we can just do it 10 more times or any number of times. So there you go. Now there will be another file if I refresh it. And there we go. So I have another file ready. So we have seen that we have configured MinIO, the text-to-speech. Now let's see a bit of NCA Toolkit. So you can access the NCA Toolkit from the HTTP node. And I'll actually just copy the node from the previous builds. So here is the node, which is the add subtitles node. So before we go ahead, I'm actually going to upload one of our videos that we made on MinIO so that I can add subtitles to it. So I'm going to create another bucket here, and it will be called NCA Toolkit. And then I'll create it. So we have our bucket here, but we forgot something, which is that we need to add all the information here. So let's configure this. For the API key, I'm just going to leave it API key. For the endpoint URL, or MinIO is at this URL, so that's fine. But now we have to get the access and secret key. So let's make sure we made the correct bucket name. So I'll go here and check. Okay, so the bucket name is correct, but I need the access key. So I'm going to create one more access key, and I will copy the access key from here and then go back and paste it in the, okay, I have to paste this in the access key. And then for the secret, I'm going to copy this and paste it in the secret key. So now I have everything configured correctly. So I'm now going to save it. And the only thing I need to restart is NCA Toolkit. So I'm just going to restart this from here. So I'll restart the container, and it will take a bit before it's ready. So in that time, let's look at the subtitles node, and also we'll upload the video that we need. So in this node, firstly, I'll have to change the video URL. So I will have to get the video URL. Before that, let me upload it. So I'll make another bucket here, as I generally just call up raw videos. And I'll create the bucket. And I'll go into the bucket and upload the file, object browser, and then raw videos, and I'll upload something here. Now I'll upload a video so we can see the NCA Toolkit in action. So I'll go ahead and upload the file, which is about 24 megabytes. So this is a 8 to 9 minute video, and we're going to be adding subtitles to it. And there's one more thing you need. So I was actually working, and then it started throwing me the gateway timeout error. So I figured this out. So when you add your domain in this setup, you actually have to change one more thing. So this is our actual main service, which is running. So once we added this domain name, there's one more thing you need to add. When you click on this I button, you'll see. So it says you can specify one domain with path or more with comma. So when you add this, you also have to add one more thing, which is from where it should pick stuff up, right? So on your VPS, the n8n instance is running on port 5678. So first you have the domain, and then you can look at the third option here, which is the third example, the app.coolify.io, and then it says 3000. So it says that redirect app.coolify.io to port 3000. So that's where it's going to point. So when we initially set this up, it worked, but after I restarted the container, because the configuration was not there, it stopped picking up the signals. So now I've added this, and I'm going to save it again. And then I'll go back So now I've added the port, and so now I have to restart to get everything in place. So it says service application restarted successfully. And now I can go into the logs and read the logs. So I'll go to n8n and refresh this, and it's going to show me that it's starting out. So here you can see the editor is now accessible via this link. So I'm going to copy this link again, which was our link, and I want to paste it. And now you can see I can access n8n again. So I'm going to go to the workflow and resume where we left. So I've added the video. So rather than adding the S3 node, I'll directly add the subtitles node and point it to the location of our video. So I will go ahead and open this node, and then I'll change things from here. The URL on which I have my NCA toolkit is HTTP. So I'll go back and see the location. So it is at 8081. I'll just copy the whole thing from here and then go back and replace the first part. So I have my URL ready. I have my header ready. I have my body ready, except I have to configure the link. So the link is, firstly, I need to go to MinIO, which I can reach from this link. So I'll copy this and paste this here. Then I will go to my bucket name, which is raw videos. So after I copy the bucket name, I'll paste the bucket name here. And now what I need is the file name. The file name is NCA test, and I'm going to copy this and paste this here. So now I have my video URL, and I'm going to go ahead and click execute. Okay, so the reason I'm getting the service refused, because even though I said that everything is being mapped to 8081 because we replaced it, because I commented it out, but after I made the comment, I actually removed the port. So it is again back at 8080. So I've updated that, and so we have that issue figured out. So if I replace this to 8080, I'm gonna click on execute, and now I get a bad request. It says client error, forbidden for URL. Okay, so I'm not allowed to access this URL. So I'll try one thing, that I will go to the object browser and then click on raw videos and then settings, and I'll try to make it public, and let's see if it resolves it. So now I've made this public just to test if it works. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on execute. And now you can see it has started to execute and there are no issues. So you can access the NCA toolkit as well. And it is going to make a video. So it is going to add the subtitles to our video. So I think the actual issue what's going on is that when you look at these credentials, you see the access and secret key. This is not the access and secret key when the NCA toolkit is trying to find the video. So this access and secret key is for when NCA toolkit has completed the video and it wants to upload it to the NCA toolkit bucket. So that's the thing with NCA toolkit. Whatever you add, whatever link you add, and that link should contain the file. There should be no issues in the middle. There should be no authentication, or it shouldn't be a download link like you get on Google Drive. So it should be directly the video link. Like if you go to this link, you should get the video. So it's going to take a while to add the subtitles. And let's head back to our workflow and see the stuff. So it added the subtitles in about 3 minutes. So let's see, we got the information, we have all these things, we got the response. So this is the URL on which our file is. So I'm going to go ahead and see this. So we have NCA Toolkit. I'm going to go to NCA Toolkit. And there you go. So I have the captions, which is about 30 megabytes. So it processed this file in 3 minutes. So that's very quick. That's even faster than my computer. Maybe I have too many things running on it. That's why it's slow. But regardless, this is pretty quick. So you can process about 20 10-minute videos an hour. So you can imagine what you can do in a month then. So there you go. Our video is downloaded. I'm going to open it and show it to you.
Once upon a time, in a serene form, do you see that tree? I want to tell them about the tree. And
so there you go. So that's how you can run the entire thing on VPS. And now you also have an entire n8n setup on cloud, your own VPS, and this should pretty much be able to do anything. It has 8 CPU, 16 gigabytes of memory, just for $18. And I'll also show you the webhook. The webhook is also configured. So when you come here, and you'll see that this is the production URL. So I can access it from the internet. So let me also show you the webhook demo. So I'm going to copy this link, and I'll say listen for live test. So now it's listening at this link, and I'm going to go to Postman and add this link here and send it. So when I send this, you will see that I get a 200 OK, and this has run, right? So I was able to see the request. So that's how you can do it. So now you have your entire VPS ready. just from one script, and you can find the scripts in the description. And now we have finally one more thing to do, which is go to the firewall and create one. So I'm going to go to the firewall from here and then click on create firewall. So let's add some rules. So the first would be TCP 22, that's already added. The second would be TCP again, but for port 80, which is your HTTP unsecure port. And the third will be TCP again for 443, which is your secure port. And that's all you need to do. So you can just call it anything. I'll just leave it firewall 1 and then create firewall. And that's it. And whenever you don't want to use this server and save costs, you can come and click here on these three dots and then turn power off. But because I just made this server just to demonstrate all this, I'm just going to delete it from here, and it's just going to ask me to copy and paste the name. I'll do it, and it says, what do I want to delete? I'll delete the IP, the IPv6 and everything. I'll delete the entire server, and now everything is gone. So if you like these kind of videos, subscribe to the channel and join the community to learn more about this great stuff. And we're currently doing the AI agent origins, and you'll learn a lot about AI agents. So I'll see you in the next video.